So it is day 5 of Camp NaNoWriMo. Actually, like early afternoon. I was only kind of bumming around, doing a little bit of reading, fiddling with social media all morning. Right now, I'm actually running errands. We got some library books to return. I'm gonna go run to my library, drop these things off, maybe browse around. I decided I'm gonna go ahead and return this History of the Medieval World. I know I said I was like gonna read it last month. Obviously that didn't happen. And I flipped through it a couple times, and it has a lot of really good information, has a lot of good useful information, but it's like really dense and there's a lot of stuff in it that I don't need. And so I just feel like I would probably, if I tried to read it for research, I would spend a lot of time trying to sift through for things that I actually need to research for the book I want to write. So I want to try to find something a little bit more focused, because I'm not so much interested in, this is really heavily political and it deals with kingdoms throughout this period of time, and I really want to focus on like a couple specific kingdoms and like more of the social aspects of medieval life instead of necessarily the movement of armies. I don't think I'm going to try to film in the library because I don't know how they would respond to that, but I'll be back hopefully with not too many books. A couple of the things I picked up. Life in a Medieval Village, which is exactly what I wanted. The Time Traveler's Guide to Medieval England, which looks really dense when I looked inside, but it sounds like something I would find really useful. Europe in the High Middle Ages. Not sure if this is going to be a little bit too much wars and political movements, but we'll see. It's the wisdom of, I have no idea how to say this, maybe the Beguines, the Beguinness. I don't know. It's supposed to be some like philosophical women's movement in this time period. The Four Queens, the Provence sisters who ruled Europe. Okay, so the Four Sisters book does not want to stay in focus. So this one is not strictly speaking related to what I'm researching, but I'm just really curious about it. Way too big of a research book haul, but I really want to work on my Secret Portal Prince story, and I want to do some research about it because it's going to be a true multi-perspective epic fantasy, and so I actually want to put more effort into the world building and the kingdoms since it's a completely other world fantasy. Now I have to debate whether to pick up some coffee before I go home or just be good and go home and drink coffee at home. These are my big life choices. Where do I get coffee? You know, some days you spend a lot of time thinking about what you want to write without getting a whole lot of writing done. And that's pretty much what happened today. There are just so many different projects that I want to work on. There are things that like I really should be working on. There are things that I really want to work on, and then there are just dozens, 100 different ideas of things that I could be working on. And that's really not an exaggeration. Around the end of last year, I listed all of the titles that I could work on just in 2017. And there were 17 books on that list. And I ended up only working on about 2 of them. Really? That's even worse than I thought. But like that's only some of the most immediate titles that I thought I should work on. That doesn't even go into just like all of the ideas I'm constantly jotting down. And when I say I jot down ideas, I mean I always carry a notebook, and I'll have an idea that pops into my head, and I'll write pages. This is probably a little difficult to see. Anyways, pages of brainstorming outlines or characters for those plots. And so none of my brainstorms are on that list. So it's probably close to 100 different things I could work on, theoretically, that I've got characters or a plot or some outlining done on. I've made another list like that like this one, the books I want to write in 2017. I've made another list for 2018 of titles I could pick off of. And these are, I should also say, these are only full-length novel ideas. Got a lot of other like novella, short story ideas too. That's great. Like, you never run out of ideas. That's awesome. That is a great problem for a writer to have. But sometimes it is really hard to pick what you want to work on, because it goes back to that interplay of things I know I really should be working on, things I really want to be working on, things I want to be preparing for to work on. It's hard to sift through all of that information to pick the next thing to work on. So today I spent a lot of time going through my ideas, going through my options. I've been talking about writing Profane 3 next, but I want to do some outlining for that, which I haven't done, and I'm not feeling very inspired to do that outlining. I do know what the basic plot is, but just not feeling super inspired by it, because it's also going to be another really long book. And I just keep thinking to myself, you know, I only need to write like 39,000 words to finish up this month. That would be a perfect little amount to do something short. So what if I did like a short story? And so I've just kind of been like sifting through my ideas. I do have like a couple novella ideas. I do have some short story ideas. Or I spent a lot of time today brainstorming a short story idea for a short story anthology call I saw. But I do have an idea, but I don't have a fully fleshed out idea, so I don't want to start writing it until I've got a really clear picture, especially at the beginning, in my head, because that's just how I work. I spend a lot of time in my head thinking before I start writing. Some of that in my head thinking is literally me narrating different things that could go into the book. I spent a lot of time thinking. Some of that also involved me watching some stuff. I watched Clue, which is a great movie. I just needed like a diversion. And it gave me another novel idea, which I'm not going to touch because it's a historical fiction novel. And so I'm just going to like back burner that because I don't have time. The other thing is, obviously, the first half of this video is me going to the library and getting a bunch of research books. And the thing about the research books is those are for researching, planning a book I really want to write, but is going to take a lot of research, hence that stack of books. And I don't have time in the middle of NaNoWriMo to be like reading a bunch of historical books and trying to world build and trying to outline and also trying to write that book. Like that book's going to need so much prep before I even contemplate starting writing on it, you know, so I can't start it now. And unfortunately, that's the one I really want to work on next, but I mean, what can you do? All of this is to say, I wrote 100 words of a book, literally another long novel. I wasn't planning on starting to write until like June of this year, and it's actually the sequel to a book that's going to be coming out next year, which is why I wasn't going to even like think about writing the sequel yet, because I haven't even technically started working on editing the first one yet. But I just wanted to write something. I just wanted to write a paragraph. I didn't want the day to go by without writing anything. So I wrote 100 words. I actually kind of like them. I don't necessarily think I'm going to keep working on this. I think I'm going to try to dig in and do some more brainstorming for this short story I've been working on kind of off and on all day in my head, and maybe do some like physical outlining of it tonight so that I can work on it tomorrow maybe. Yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. It wasn't a productive day. I'll admit that. I'm still averaging like 2,000 words per day, even with this crappy day, though. So it's not the end of the world. I'm not behind schedule at all for NaNoWriMo. I'm eating into my buffer that I created, but that's fine because once I click on what I want to work on, I can build that buffer up again. Too many options. I don't know what I want to work on. This is why I've always been kind of hesitant to vlog or blog about NaNoWriMo, because this always happens to me. There's always like a couple days in the month where I'm just like, I didn't want to work today, so I didn't. And I don't think that's necessarily like the best content, but it is the reality. I'm sure there are authors who can write 7 days a week. I'm not one of them. And I'm sure there are authors who can work on multiple projects at the same time. I'm also not one of those. I kind of like taking breathers. That was day 6. I don't know if I said at the top of this video, in the first section this morning, if I called it day 5 or day 6. whatever. It's day 6. We all know that. I'm still at like 11,600 words total. See you tomorrow.